So I would say since what, 2014, being a founder and looking for money or fundraising, I think the biggest hurdle was that everyone in the room were men. All the other VCs, angel investors that I've all come in contact with is only men. And only until I would say the last year to 2 years is when I started really seeing other women in the room. And so that's already a hurdle. Then when you're talking about specifically what my company does is working with smallholder female farmers, right? So I'm very gender focused with a gender lens on empowering these smallholder farmers, getting their goods over to the market and so forth. And so when you talk about a social enterprise and the return on investment is not going to be in 5 years. Like, yeah, so it's all of these things, right? Because it's like, okay, but how fast are you going to grow? Do you have enough traction? And how many farmers are you working with? So all of those things account for the accessibility of the money, right? Because we're not a NGO or a sticking or anything like this. So getting money, fundraising has been difficult for certain projects that we were working on simply because the need wasn't there. Now, I would say since 2017, 2018, and this is the same thing going into what Claire was saying about microfinancing and access to credit in emerging markets. Now this is a topic that is coming up that, oh, you really need to know your customers. We need to really get some funding to these farmers. We need to accelerate their growth. Now my company is interesting for them because now we have the data, we have all of this other information. So fundraising hasn't been easy. It hasn't been easy at all. And I can't stress enough that the fundraising process is a process by itself. And one of my mentors had said, you didn't fail as an entrepreneur, you failed at the fundraising process. And that is something to really understand, is because you really need to dedicate the time and energy for that. Ideally 3 months for a very tight fundraising process, max 6 months, depending if you have everything in order. At least this is what I've been told with my mentors. And that has helped, but at the same time is finding the right investor that sees the long-term vision, right? Because it's like, especially with social entrepreneurship and social ventures, it's really long-term. The turnaround time is not going to be in 3 to 5 years that you can exit immediately. You're not going to have the top ROI back. So I believe it's really finding the impact investors that want to see the real growth and want to have the real impact that can align with you. So for me, it's really understanding those finding those investors, but they're far and few between. They're not they're not a dime a dozen, because most people are looking for the unicorns and the billion-dollar companies. So that makes it quite difficult sometimes. So I would say those were my hurdles.